Hello everyone, welcome to my March Plan With Me video. Let's start with a quick flip through of my February setup. This is going to be like a real Plan With Me video where I keep in my mistakes and talk about my frustrations. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out, but it took some trial and error. So let's get started. For this city theme, I've been inspired by the artist 𝙷𝚎𝚕𝚘. I hope I pronounced that right, but I will link her in the description. First, I'm doing some eraser magic, and then I'm starting with the outlines using my Micron 05. Then filling it in. The Tombow I'm using for the street lantern is 991, and when going over it again with my Micron Fineliner to make the lantern post a lantern post. Then I'm using the Tombow 620 to draw in the flowers at the bottom. They're really easy, scribbly flowers. And then it was time for the eye catcher of my cover page, the typical yellow taxi. This is also colored in a 991 Tombow. First, I'm coloring in the base, keeping some spaces wide to add in lights later. A lighter blue to fill up the windows, and then it's time to fill in the black. Starting with the sign on top, drawing the stripes and the tires. Then the taxi's finished. Next up, we have the buildings. I'm using washi tape to guide my borders and keep the lines crisp. Then I realized that I should have started with the florals at the top, that way I can draw them in front of the buildings and create some depth. For the florals, I'm using the Tombow 772 and 817. For the detailing dots, I'm using 761. Back to the buildings. For the lightest beige, I'm using 942, and for the slightly darker one, I use 992. The purple gray shade is the N60, and I'm creating the windows with the opposite colors to make them pop. big change. I did not like the streakiness of the Tombows, so after being completely clueless for about an hour or two and a call with my best friend later, I decided to jump to gouache. I didn't film it for the sake of time, but I will explain my process during the following pages. The reason I decided to keep the part with the Tombows in is because if you don't mind a more messy look, that would work perfectly fine as well. So now into the calendar of the month. Since I'm so happy with the style and layout of the monthly pages, I decided to keep it. Then I realized that I should have started with the florals at the top, and this way I can draw them in front of the buildings and create some depth. When letting the buildings dry, I can add in the purple flowers. After that, I color in the first taxi. Because gouache covers, I didn't bother to keep free space where the taxi is going to be placed. And then it's time for the lettering. I wrote March and drew the lines. Erase the sketch numbers and use my 991 Tombow to highlight the part where the numbers go later on. I'm letting it dry for a little bit, so now I have time to draw in some flowers in the right corner. It's time for the numbers. The buildings are dry enough for me to add in the other taxi on top. With the black gouache, I add in the taxi board and tires. Finally, it's time to add in the flowers at the top. Again, if you remember to do this at the start, you can create some more depth. When those are finished, it's time to go over the buildings once again. Add in the windows and making the lines more crisp. When waiting for that to dry, I added in the green leaves with my Holbein acrylic gouache in the color Misty green. Lastly, I'm adding in some details and painting the ground with a thinned out version of the lightest beige. Here is probably my favorite page, the quote page. I'm using the quote, "I am in love with cities I have never been and people I've never met," from John Green. For this, I use the thicker fineliners and the font that I use in the regular. I'm starting with painting the buildings, and this time I decided to paint the windows right away. What a time saver. When that's dry, I can start on the taxi at the right bottom, and as soon as that one has finished, my buildings are dried and I can do another round of them. Then I wrote gratitude and did another round of buildings. Now it's time. For some of the lilac florals and the days of the month. I believe this is the last round of buildings, and while those are drying, I'm covering the entire top with pink flowers. Finished the last windows. Added in the extra bit of lilac flowers and drew the two taxis at the bottom. Added in the lantern post and finished with the green leaves. Finally, I'm coloring the ground, and there it is. The final flip through of March 2021. I hope you liked my video, and if you're new here, make sure to check out my other videos. I again already reached my new goal of 700 subscribers, so let's just go crazy and set another goal at 1K. Hopefully the video gave you some inspiration for your journal. Comment down below what your March theme is, and thank you guys for watching. I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!